Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm really excited for this morning's talk. I want to acknowledge that I live and work on the unceded traditional territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Coast Salish people. I'm really excited to have Vicky Sunohara here with us today. Vicky is a three-time Canadian Olympian, once being described as the Wayne Gretzky of women's hockey. In addition to being an Olympian, she just completed her 9th season as the head coach of University of Toronto women's hockey team. And recently she's won some pretty major awards. In 2019, 2020, she was the OUA and USPORTS Coach of the Year for women's hockey and was also named the OUA Women's Coach of the Year across all sports. Vicky, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks, Amy. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So for everyone watching, I'll just give you a note. There is a Q&A button up top. I really encourage you to ask questions. I'm going to work through some questions with Vicky, but we really want to open it up to audience questions. I'm just going to stop share here. We'll go to speaker view so we can see everybody. All right. Vicky, I want to start our conversation kind of at the beginning. So I'm interested in knowing how you got into hockey as a kid.
Yeah, my dad he loved hockey. He played all through growing up, as did his brothers. And he he introduced hockey to my sister and my brother, who are both older. And it wasn't, I guess, until the third time was a charm, and he got me playing in our basement when I think I have audio recordings. You can tell how long ago that was. When I was 1.5, and we were, I took to it. I loved it, and that's where it all began. And I kind of haven't stopped. But he had me skating, built a rink in our backyard and up at our public school, and so I was skating and playing since I was just over 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you grow up in Toronto, where you are now?
I grew up, yes, born and grew up in Scarborough, yeah.
Okay. I admire and am very envious of your guys' outside rinks. Definitely not something we have here. I just want to ask a little bit more about that, because I know growing up for myself, even for me, there wasn't a lot of girls playing. So did you experience that? Were there other girls playing, or were you the only one?
Yeah, it seemed at the time that I was the only one around, and I joined a boys' league where it was, I think another girl joined the following year, but I was the only girl in that league as well. But, at the time, it didn't even faze me. I just wanted to play. So yeah, it was different not having, any girls, but I was quite happy.
I think it almost helps when we don't know the difference. Like if that's what we grow up in, I think it helps a little bit.
Yeah.
So then how do you get from being this only girl playing on a boys team to being on the national team and representing Canada at the Olympics? What does that journey look like?
It's hard to like say that it was a journey. I just wanted to play. And I think what was great was that my father was my coach back when I was 5. Unfortunately, he passed away when I was just turning 8. And so he had me playing, and obviously playing house league and select. And it wasn't until I was 8 that I got kicked out of the boys league and forced to join a girls league. And again, at the time, it was, okay, why do I have to leave, all of my friends who were boys playing? But my mom had taken over and not been quite the, she didn't have the interest of hockey, so she didn't really question it, and she just joined me up in the Scarborough Girls League. So to me, it was a pretty easy transition, because as I said, like, I just wanted to play. And from then on, I played for Scarborough, played for various leagues, and just had the opportunity to have a lot of great friends and support. And, played select, then I played competitive, and I was playing competitive hockey, and that's when I learned about scholarships, and it was very young back then. There weren't many girls, females getting full hockey scholarships in the U.S. at the time, and I know that there was a few, and just was scouted, and I went to Northeastern to play, and just that was the time when they started the first World Championships in 1990. So I think for me, I just wanted to play and play at the highest level that I could play at. And I remember just trying to be the best I could be. I used to have my own practices. Like, my dad started it in the basement, and then I had my own. I used to put pylons down and targets on the wall, and it went from balls to pucks. And I know my mom wasn't excited about that, but just really wanting to continue to try to be the best that I could be.
No wonder they call you the Wayne Gretzky. You have the same
I don't know who said that, but I wouldn't agree. But
well, it's on Wikipedia, so it must be right.
Oh, it must be.
At that time, were there provincial programs running? Like, now we see that there's Team Ontario and there's Team Alberta and all of those teams, and a lot of the girls that are making their transition to the national program are coming up through those programs. So did those exist when you came up?
There was Ontario Winter Games, but there wasn't and that was more club. The Canada Winter Games, I think, started in the early 90s. That was just after I was eligible. So there wasn't that, the national championships for the younger age groups, but there was national championships, and there was an unofficial world championships in 1987, which was pretty exciting. I was playing intermediate hockey, I think, at the time, and I was actually the flag bearer at that championships, and it just burned me because I wanted to play at that championship so bad. But I was the flag bearer for actually Team USA, so it was interesting how everything kind of transpired. But that was the first kind of taste of, wow, I really want to do this. So
that's really cool that you had that opportunity, because I think we were even talking with we had a panel of athletes, and a lot of them were talking about how it wasn't until later in their careers that they really saw females doing what they wanted to do. So it's great that you were able to have that opportunity that kind of builds that fire of going, if they can do it, I can also do it.
Yes.
So then what does it look like for you? So you go and you play at Northeastern, and then how does that transition happen into the national team program?
Well, that's where there was a selection camp, a tryout camp, and I think by playing in Ontario, like they had pretty much a pool of players that were invited, and they invited players from all across Canada. I remember it being just after Christmas, having this tryout camp. It was in Mississauga, and it was pretty exciting. I had watched a lot of the 1987 championship, and so players, that were playing at that, France St. Louis, Sue Shear, I know Angelique James, and there were players from out west that I hadn't heard of, Dawn McGuire, Shirley Cameron, and all these players were playing, and I just they were at the selection camp, and so it was kind of, it was a little bit different. I hadn't watched them on TV like the girls have now. They can watch the national team and whatnot, but I got to see them at camp. I got to meet them. I got to be on the ice with them, and it was pretty exciting. And being a younger player is just kind of taking it all in, but also wanting to play. I didn't care how old anybody was, or if they were older or younger, whatever the case may be. I just wanted to play, try out, and have that opportunity to possibly represent Canada. So it was a great experience, and just making that and playing in those 1990 World Championships was a dream come true for me. But also I learned a lot, and I saw kind of developed role models pretty quick, those ladies that I was speaking about. So
that's really interesting, because I think back to my childhood, and I think I remember going and watching you play and having those autograph sessions afterwards, and being so excited to meet all of you in that similar situation of like, this can be done. Like, look at these women that are doing amazing things. So that's a really cool thing, how it happens throughout the generations. On that note, I would say kind of your group that went to the Olympics and did all those things, you really kind of paved the way for what we see now in women's sports or women's hockey. And I'm wondering kind of what that experience was like. What were those challenges that you guys as a group overcame, and what are some of the highlights of that process?
Well, I think what was interesting is that it was all so new. So it's not like we could look back and say, this is what happened, this is where things, we could be better here. It was all just, I think everybody was so excited and wanted to have that opportunity to play at the Olympics. So it was new. Also very challenging. I mean, there's a lot of great hockey players even back then competing and trying out for a spot to be on this first kind of Olympic team back in '98. So I think between the excitement of maybe having the opportunity to represent Canada at an Olympics, competing against great players, because we had the World Championships leading up until that, and you saw, one of the most difficult things is playing for Canada is making the team because there's so many great players. So going in '98, it's like we didn't have really any expectations, except we knew that we wanted to go and win gold. I mean, that's something I think that's always put, that you just have, like you're not just going to participate. You want to be successful. You want to do your best to win a gold medal. I think that's a hockey and Canada thing, So, just that experience, then moving on into the obviously not being successful and moving on to 2002. There's always adversity. There's always things to, that are getting in the way, and injuries and things like that. But I think for the most part, a lot of, my teammates, there were some that, unfortunately, the Olympics starting a little bit later were, kind of at that time where they had to retire and didn't have that opportunity to play in 2002. But for I think a lot of us, it was, okay, we have to turn this medal into another, into gold. So it was a pretty big motivator to continue to train, to play, to do whatever it took to make the team and to have the opportunity to play in '02. So there was always, I think, bumps in the road, but no doubt there's a lot of highlights as well. And, as they say, it's the journey, not necessarily the destination. So, the ups and downs were and the memories, the friendships, the traveling were always things that, you look back on.
And I think those are probably the things that really kind of help you keep going, right? Those relationships.
Yes.
We think now, like when we think of a professional athlete, we think that they have this funding and they're training all the time and they're able to focus on that. But I think we in female hockey know that that's still not the case, and we're fighting for that. So I wonder what that looked like for you guys. How did you balance this idea of you're training for the Olympics, but you're maybe not getting the funding necessary to do that to the level that you probably wanted to? So what does that look like for you? Or when did it look like?
Well, it got to a point where I know, probably earlier on, most of the team had full-time jobs, or they were in school, and it was a sacrifice, but didn't seem so much like a sacrifice having the opportunity to represent Canada and play at a World Championships or Olympics. We definitely had to do more on the side for sure to support yourselves. And everybody is in different situations. Some were living at home, some were, living on their own. But I think that's something that it was just, you just knew it. Like, and it wasn't, for me, I don't want to speak for all of my teammates, but it wasn't so much a barrier, because I knew this is what I wanted to do. And I was going to do it no matter what. And we probably didn't realize it, living probably below the poverty line at a lot of, a lot of the times. but we were going to do it. And then as years kind of gone on, there's been more support. Um, but it was at a time where, you're so appreciative for the opportunity that you don't really take a look and say, hey, like, this isn't fair. Like, we're training just as much as the men. We're playing just as many games, not to mention that everybody is going through, and probably everybody in the teams that I played on with the national program, everybody had at least a university degree, and then some. So fast forward, I think it's amazing how in the past few years that, the female athletes are really standing up and, standing up for what they believe in, and fighting for that. I think at the time back, and we're going in the early, the mid to late 90s, early 2000s, we were just so appreciative. And I think that's what's important, is that for female athletes now, to have that gratitude. I mean, to still be appreciative, but continue to fight for what's right and what they deserve. So I think that it hasn't been that long, actually, and I think it's come a long way, and it's definitely got a long way to go. But it's really great to see all these female athletes and people getting behind them and the support. But we got to keep going.
Yes. And I'll say, even like from when I think we retired around the same time, which is kind of a funny thing. But even in that amount of time, I've seen so much growth in the game and what these girls have access to, which is incredible. And I mean, the game itself is so much better.
Yeah.
But I will say that sense of gratitude is something that I think really I notice about our athletes, especially our Canadian athletes. Like, they're so grateful regardless, right? They're just happy to be there and doing what they're doing, which I think you guys laid that for them, right? You set that tone, which is amazing.
Well, it's easy to look back on. It's easy to look back and say, oh, this, it would be great for this to be different. It's almost like, your parents say, well, they had such hardships and they want to do what's best and make a better life for their kids. And it's kind of the same when you're growing and you're playing. I would love to see it better for the generations coming, and I think it has. But just even retiring, and I had kids right away. I understood, but I didn't. I was getting up there, and I was a little bit worried of my age. And then you retire, have kids, and it's like, no maternity leave. It's nothing, and so it was a pretty big shock, being like, okay, what do I do now? So I went back to work after 4 months, and I had twins, which wasn't the easiest of situations. But I'm hoping that as time, I mean, I know the support is better, but like that's something too. Like the support is necessary.
Yes. And I think that's something that people don't really think about, right? We don't think like, oh, she wants to have children, what happens now, right? Like, it's not a thought that's in people's minds. So it's definitely something that needs to change. So you have this amazing career. What are some of your favorite memories?
I have so many. Oh gosh, I have so many. That our 2002, and I don't even want to say just the Olympics, kind of that whole Olympic centralization year, 2001, 2002, and it was just such a season full of adversity, and I learned so much through that. And obviously, the U.S., being the defending Olympic champions. It was in 2001 when we were centralized in Calgary with 9/11, and just having that be so devastating. Just, the uncertainty of that year, and I can go through some challenges, but we lost 8 straight exhibition games to the U.S., and we wanted so badly to have the opportunity to win. And I think just all of the lessons that I learned throughout that whole kind of season was just I've taken so much of it, and often refer back to that. Um, so we went to the Olympics in Salt Lake, and obviously being in the U.S. playing against the defending champions was interesting and exciting, and quite a challenge. But I think that we, as a team, we really, we knew that we could do it. Like, I think that we learned and we grew every loss, every training, all of our uh, all of our experiences together, and then having the Olympics go. And it wasn't an easy Olympics, that's for sure, but being successful and just seeing how we stayed the course, and a few of our our mottos and things really held true. And so winning that Olympics and seeing everybody, knowing what everybody went through and watching, and it was such a feeling of pride and excitement. So it has to be one of my favorite highlights. But like I
Yeah.
said, there was many, many more. But
Yeah. I think that's the adversity and those lessons that you take from those kind of things are so important, right? And that's, as you said, we look back on those things and we learn and probably hold those really true. I know you have another memory that is really close to your heart. Do
yeah,
you want to talk about that?
well, the highlight, definitely a highlight, and the 2006 Olympics. I knew, I didn't want to believe it, but I probably knew in my heart that that would be my last Olympics. And I had the opportunity to have my mom and my sister there. And my mom was getting up there and having a little bit, uh, signs of dementia, maybe Alzheimer's. And she had the opportunity. And obviously, she was such a big supporter after I lost my father when I was 7. Um, she, just having the opportunity to share with her after we had won the 2006 gold medal. And I remember getting back, we went to a place in Italy, and it was like a Canada House, and she was standing outside, and I took off my medal and I put it around her neck, and I just, you know I said, like, this is amazing. And I said thank you. And because you don't know often until it's gone, how much your parents, or it doesn't even have to be your parents, but there's special people that really support you in your lives. And just I have a picture. It's actually in a cabinet, and she's wearing the 2006 Olympic medal, and she has such a feeling of pride. My sister and myself are in it, and my sister was taking care of her actually there at the Olympics. And I ended up losing my mom in 2015, and like I knew that I thanked her, and I always was appreciative. But you're never, as I said, you're never as so appreciative as when they're gone. And I look back, and I think about that highlight. I'm so happy that I had the opportunity, and she was able to be there, and to share in that moment. And I could tell that she was so proud. But you don't really realize it, and how special and how much she was my hero, and how much I mean to you. And so it's my highlight, probably more so, after I lost her than at the time, because it was like, yeah, like we did this, and it was just, you just kind of keep going. But it's something very special that I look at that picture, and I just never forget.
I thank you for sharing that story. Like, my heart is just, ugh. But I think those are really important lessons, because it's so easy for us to let life and let those experiences get away from us, right? And I think love that you're able to hold on to that memory and have that such a good memory with your mom that you can be so proud of. So thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that.
Mhm.
That also kind of moves us into that next section of, how did you make that decision to kind of end your playing career and kind of move into that next stage of life?
I don't know if it was my decision to end my playing career, but I think it was you know, obviously slowing down and realizing, the competition is just, the young kids they were so great and so fast. And, I kind of had some conversations about, thinking about retiring, but it was hard for me. It was hard for me to really come to grips with it. I love the game so much. I wanted to play. I'd probably still be playing if I could, but it was getting to be around that time, and I realized, yeah, could I would have loved to have been around for the 2010 Olympics, but I had some tough conversations, and obviously it turned out that they were right, and so it was after the 2007 World Championships that I was like, okay, well, yeah, I guess it is my time. But I went kicking and screaming, that's for sure. But and then I kind of went from a transition from playing into, okay, I'm starting a family, and so it kind of got my mind, I guess, away from it. I also had I had a lot of trouble with some injuries, and it turns out in the following year, all of these mystery injuries kind of had it, they made sense. So I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and I've been kind of dealing with that, and trying to figure out what's going on ever since. I've been, since I was diagnosed about just over 10 years ago. So that's been challenging, because maybe I can't play. I couldn't play at the Olympic level, but I still wanted to play. And I really have a really difficult time doing that right now with some of the areas that it's affected, but really trying to stay positive and push through and figure it out. So, yeah.
Yeah. I admire that positivity and the mindset that you take, because I think that's so challenging. Like, that transition itself is an incredibly difficult one. And then to add that medical aspect onto it, I can imagine makes it so much worse. Because I know as athletes, when our body doesn't do what we want it to do, it's probably one of the most frustrating things.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just a result of having twins. And then I thought I must not have a very strong pain threshold, but I couldn't walk. Like, it was my ankles, my knees, my shoulders, my hips, everything. And but I thought this is what people went through having kids or twins. And then it wasn't until right after, where I was diagnosed, where it all kind of made sense. So yeah, and another kind of bump in the road for sure.
I point out the athlete mindset that, oh, this must be normal. My body feels like this must be normal, right?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then how do you get from you retire, you become a mom, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, and then you become a coach. So how did that transition happen?
Well, I never thought that I would see myself behind a bench, because I would always think, if I was just coaching like at a hockey camp, I always just wanted to jump on the ice and be like, let's go, get involved with the game. But I think with having some experience, I started to coach at the Hill Academy, an independent school, and I had the opportunity to work with females, all in the pro hockey program. It started giving me more of a little bit of a taste. I had the opportunity to be a camp coach at a few national team under 18 development camps. So I had the kind of a little bit of the taste of coaching, and it wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. And so I guess after at the Hill, I started working with some of the girls, and then we played some games, and I was like, I really enjoy this. And it was just, I guess, timing, and it's such a fortunate, opportunity that the opportunity at the University of Toronto came up. I honestly didn't think that I was going to get it, because I didn't have a ton of coaching experience, a lot of playing experience, and a lot of coaches that I played for, and a lot of great teammates, such great leadership. My friends, teammates, I learned a lot from them and coaches. So I went for it and applied, and it's a dream job for me, and I'm learning all the time. It's a challenge. I'll never say that I'm you can never be complacent, that's for sure. And I don't have a secret to success or anything like that. And it's just learning and kind of networking and talking and being on these webinars, learning from others, that I'm kind of developing kind of my coaching and continue to develop my coaching philosophies and styles. So,
I like
yeah.
that you would acknowledge that it's a continuous growth, and I think that's such an important thing, because not only is the game changing, but the athletes are changing, and kind of the different approaches we need are changing. So that kind of leads me to my next question: is how would you describe your coaching style, and how do you think that's evolved or changed over your years?
I think right from the beginning, it's always been really athlete focused. Um, I think when you everybody takes ownership of what you're doing and where you're going, I think you tend to have more success. And I always want, and with every meeting that I've had, I probably in going in my 10th season, it's always, please, call, email, my door's open. And I think that that's kind of the same throughout our coaching staff. It just, as a coach, you have to make some decisions, and they may not be what you can't make everybody happy. But I think if everybody has, if they're invested, you tend to have more success. And so really trying to make sure that everybody has a voice, and has everybody has different roles, there's no doubt. But I really believe from my playing career, and again, the people that I played with, the coaches that I had, that everybody is, everybody is important. The roles may be different, but everybody is important. And you can say that, but when you really, pay attention to it and act on it, I think that you have, more of a, I don't want to say a buy-in, but everybody is on board, and you really do need that. And I think that that's challenging, is making sure that everybody kind of, they know. And it's not to say that everybody's stuck in roles either. Like, obviously we want to have everybody grow and to be the best, the best player, the best person, the best student athlete that they can be. But I think that that's one thing that in kind of in general that I like is a goal, or, is something that we all, as a staff, we try to do, making people feel comfortable, that they can talk, feel that they are in a safe place. And so it's kind of the beginning of where we're going. And I'm so fortunate to be at the University of Toronto. From our executive athletic director down, everybody is so passionate, and they were given the resources to be successful. So, whether it's strength and conditioning, whether it's, access to mental health and wellness, therapy, our skills coaches, and we just have a great environment, a safe environment, so everybody feels valued.
I think that's so important, and we're seeing that more. It's this push towards the idea of like, let's enable and let's create safe space. And I think it's fantastic that you're able to do that within your team setting, because it's so important to the athletes. And I'm really happy to hear that you mentioned the mental health and the mental skills, because I think that's such an important part of sport, and I think we're getting better at it, but it's a process.
Yeah.
So then you've been there 9 going on 10 years. So, and you've had some major successes. So I'm interested in kind of, what do you think has led to those successes, and what are maybe some challenges that you've overcome in your time there?
Well, I think that the course, like we when I first started out, like we had a very successful season this year, but I think that we've been pretty consistent, and consistent with our the way we put people first, the way we try to things are changing all the time. We're trying to figure out, you have different student athletes coming in, and you try to cater maybe your types of systems and things like that. But in general, being consistent with our approach, and I think that the biggest hurdles are trying to change maybe the way our communication, the way we approach our practice, our training, to make sure that we're able to motivate, we're able to get the best, we're able to allow the student athletes to have the rest that they need, the access to academic help that they need, and to implement the proper training programs individually. Just having all of those things perfect to help. I don't want to say perfect. That's not a good word to use, but everybody feeling that they're at their best, and they can have the resources to be great. But I think that doing all that, we haven't necessarily had the most talented athletes. Like, I don't think ever really have had the top scorer in the league, like going and making a difference that way. We've had some great players, but having the whole, the big picture, like taking care of, as I spoke about before, having everybody be on the same page. And we often talk about blues hockey, and what does that look like? And when everybody is going in the same direction, and everybody is being able to put themselves out there and do whatever they can do for themselves, for the team, we've had the best success. And I think that's the challenge, is that having everybody trust in what you're saying, what the culture that you're trying to build, and trust in the day-to-day activities that you're doing. And I found that this season we had a lot of we had 10 new players, whether it be a transfer or first years coming in. I felt like everybody really trusted our direction, and trusted. And so when they trust in the plan, whether at times they're like, oh gosh, I don't know about this, I don't know about that, you have a better chance of being successful. And so I really believe that not really focusing maybe on our opponents as much, but focusing on our group and what we can control, was something that this group did. And it was all across the board, from the staff and even the facility staff. Just everybody was really excited, really committed, and really passionate about the direction we were going in. So it really, I think, helped us be successful this season. And it was them, like it was everybody played, and everybody had a role, and everybody played it to the best of their abilities. And I believe it's proven, it proves to be successful. So I can't, these coaches awards and everything, it's not a coach, like it's not one, it's the assistant coaches, and it's the team. The team could completely go against what you're giving to them, or your framework, or your kind of recipe. Like, they can go against that. They didn't. And so it's really I think everything was shared this year in a complete package.
I really like that. And I think you're very humble, but I would say that's probably a testament to who you are and how you show up every day, that those athletes want to play for you, which I think is amazing. I also love that you recognize the facility staff, because I think about how close our Zamboni drivers are to me. I've known them for years. Like, they're
Yeah.
fantastic people. I'm going to ask you one more question, then I'm going to open up to audience questions. And I would love to know, because I think I look at my life, I don't have children and I struggle to balance things, but you've got 2 children, you got twins, and you're a full-time coach and a wife and all of that. So how do you do it?
It's the balance was an interesting question, because I don't know if I have it. I think being such a competitive person is that, and the one thing that I'm working on is that I feel like I'm not good or great at anything. I'm just trying to do a little bit of everything, and that is true. I always say I'll never win Mom of the Year award. Definitely not if you ask my boys. But just, you know, trying to have them be a part of what takes their mom away a lot, on the weekends and the evenings. I get them, I bring them down to games. I try to get them on the ice down. My office is their second kind of play area a little bit, just to keep them involved and have them know what, and they're a part of that, a part of what I love to do. And then try to get away from this is the tricky part, is that my job isn't like a job to me. It's like, I love it. And so when you love something, like, I'm doing it all the time. So that's, I think what I'm really working on is trying to put, my phone down, or my, computer down, and to try to go and take them to the ballpark and pitch to them or something. And of course, like, I'm so broken down. They're like, how did you ever play, Mom? You can't run, your shoulder's gone. I used to play football and blew out my rotator cuff, and I'm just, you know, you know, you know, used to be able to do this. So I'm doing my best. But just to play with them a little bit in the basement, and to give them the opportunity. I love to watch them play, practice baseball. So to try to do that. And I think that the most challenging was, during this pandemic, is a huge learning curve for me, is trying to be their teacher as well, which I think that's been a highlight of my summer, trying to balance work and be their teacher, and not have them hate me every day. So I don't have the answer. It's definitely a challenge for the balance, but I'm trying, as a competitive person, to try not to be so hard in being, you're not good at this. Like, trying to stay positive and be, nothing's going to be perfect. So just trying to do my best and accept that.
I love that, because I think we, as a teacher, I remember on, I think, our first call, you were like, I'm just trying to get all their homework done, which is fantastic. We've asked parents to take on a whole new role, and it does add so much to that. I'm going to ask you a couple audience questions. So from your perspective, what are the next steps needed to establish a professional women's hockey league where athletes are paid a living wage?
It's definitely a dream of mine to see that. And I know that, I was also I was on the board of directors with the CWHL. And so I saw firsthand a lot of the struggles. And it didn't go without seeing many passionate people believing and wanting to see women's hockey to be a professional, to have a professional league where, women don't have to work 8 hours and then go to practice or go to games. And I think that I'm 100% on board with the PWHPA, and where they're going. I know a lot of them have sacrificed have done a lot of research and have been around. This is something that was going on when I was playing. We wanted a professional league, a true professional league, and it's had many hurdles. I think that they're going in the right direction. Being together, playing. I know that they're playing in showcases and things like that right now, and just getting that out there. I think having, the NHL be involved, the WNBA kind of model seems to be a good one. It's just, we've been going through this since the 2005, 2006, when the owners of the NWHL in Ontario kind of threw their hands up and said, like, we need some time to really think about this model. And then that's how the CWHL came to be. There's a lot of people, and a lot of my former teammates, Jana Hefford's doing an amazing job. Cassie Campbell's she's done so much outside of the game, so much they both have. And there's many more. I don't want to just leave it at them, but they've been there and have seen, what we've struggled through. And I think that they're going in the right direction. And I hate to leave it on the NHL's shoulders, and especially during it's a challenging time right now. But I think they're going in the right direction. I really believe that they are. And as I said, these professional women's hockey players, that some of them have given up their own careers to really fight for this, and to really and as we know, everybody wants to play, everybody loves to play, and they've given it up to really fight for this. So they've done amazing things. I just really, I believe it's going to happen, and I just hope, I want it to happen sooner than later. But I'm on board with them for sure.
Yes, and I think I agree. They're taking the right approach. Just fingers crossed. I'm mindful of time because I know you have another meeting. Do you have time for one more question, you think?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. As a coach, what are the top 3 attributes you look for in a potential player?
Gosh. I think first and foremost, the character. And I know that it's a broad, it encompasses so much, but I think as the things that I've been speaking about, that the work ethic and the passion and the team first attitude is so important. It's so important. And I think that, and I'm a real firm believer that, a couple of players that were kind of could or do go against that culture can really destroy a team, no matter how talented your team is. So that's really important. Competitive. Everybody may want to play, but I'm really looking for those players that really want to be the best they can be. And when I say that because I don't want to compare them to anybody, or you don't have to be the best goal scorer or the top D or you want to put in that time you have that competitive to do whatever it takes and to reach your potential. And I think sometimes you have to know how to and get out of your comfort zone to reach your potential. But there's a bit of a saying, like, I'd like players to hate to lose more than they want to win. And I think that that's something that it's not win at all costs. I think that is, like, hating to lose could be a shift, and it's like continuing to want to be the best you can be. And I have a lot of time for those people, not people that kind of sit back and let things happen to them. And obviously the skill set and the hockey IQ and all of that are things that we look for. But those other attributes have to be there. They have to be there as well. So that would be kind of my starts, and to find that, to it's hard to see somebody or go and see somebody play once, twice, three times and know what they're really like. So I try to do a lot of homework on references and to get a consistent idea of what the student athletes are, before we interview them and have them be a part of our program and things like that. So it's something that at first I was always like, I have to get the best hockey players. I got to get the fastest skaters, and, and all those things are very important, but, the character people are what I believe makes teams successful.
Yeah, I really like that emphasis on character and intangibles, because sometimes we can teach the skill, but it's a little bit harder to teach those character skills.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking this time to be here. I know you've got an important meeting coming up next, so we really appreciate you being here and sharing your story with us.
Well, thank you, Amy. I really appreciate it. And Shaylee, I think what you're doing is amazing. And, you did say that you had spent a lot of time on a lot of webinars, and especially with hockey and sports, always seem to be led by men. And I think your initiative and your getting out of your comfort zone and putting this together and having this available for males and females. Like, I think that it's an honor to be selected. So I just wanted to say thank you and congratulations and good job to both of you for doing this, because I think it's so positive.
Thank you so much. That means a lot, and your support kind of encourages us to keep going. So thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you.
And thank you to everyone who joined us. A reminder that we do have another talk this afternoon, which I'm super excited about, another U of T coach. Alex is going to be talking about unpacking the advancement of women in sport, which I think is going to be fantastic. So thank you, Vicky. Thank you, everyone. And hopefully we'll see you all later.
Great. Thanks.